I was never going to be an artist again, period. Call Capital the day if you don't give me my masters and switch the ratio and I get the bulk of the masters, I'm never making a song again. Ha ha ha, click. I told my wife, I don't know how I'm going to make this work. I'm just going to start writing songs again in the basement. It just went crazy. You got to be careful to not get in the way of your own smashes sometimes. That's another thing I learned later on.
What was the situation that prompted you to write Memories?
I went to my buddy's father's funeral, who passed away of like a heart attack out of nowhere. It's like feeling so much about the loss and the thing that made me think about my grandmother. We did Anyone for Bieber and Memories in the same day.
Whoa.
Yeah. My wife was like, what'd you do today? It's like, we made some sort of just like simple, it's never gonna see the light of day. Wrong. I was so wrong. And then you fast forward and Kobe's daughter is like singing it after he passes on ESPN. And I was like, oh my gosh, my ego almost got in the way of what that song was supposed to be. Sometimes you gotta get the out of the way of things that you're making. Even your friends, even your heroes, even your people could be like, this sucks. No matter how many hits somebody has or whatever, if my gut says that like this could be a big song, nobody knows shit. It's like you have no control over the way culture receives these things. If you get the goosebumps when you're making it, go out into the world and that's your sword. You, I got the goosebumps. The benefit that you've given us will only multiply 20-fold after we're all gone. And why I want to keep coming back to this podcast forever. Thank you.
What do you tell younger Jon Bellion who's never released music in 2025? What's the advice you give that kid?
You have to keep going.
Welcome to And the Writer Is. I am your host, Ross Golan. Today's visionary artist is back and undoubtedly is about to drop another masterclass on truth in art and music. This Long Island native uses storytelling, production, and melody as a canvas from which to paint his mind. From crafting anthems that feel like movie scores to penning hits for some of the biggest names in the game, he's proven time and time again that he's not just a singer or a songwriter, but a full-blown architect of emotion. 6 years after his last appearance on this podcast, this father of three is a mad scientist with a heart like a poet and the work ethic of a subway busker. And the writer is my friend, he's back, Jon Bellion.
All right. Wow, no pressure.
We've had a lot of people come back for a second, third time. I don't really go back and listen to those episodes that often, but I was like, this one, I feel like I should go back and listen. And I was like, this is the tone that we need to set. You know, you said, well, let's see what we discuss on the podcast in 10 years. And we're 6 years later, and so much has happened. Like a pandemic, and between the two of us, 5 children.
Yep.
Not like we had them together, but anyway. Before we get to that, like you said some amazing things in that podcast. And, you know, before going back and retelling some of your story, you said some things that just still people bring up. One was like, that I don't want to be a slave to the content beast.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Talking about this, like, I mean, for sure you feel it now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah.
What are you still? Are we more so slaves to the content beast?
Man, I dipped for 6 years. There still no social media on my phone. Even with the rollout, we kind of constructed this entire rollout just completely different. You start to learn about like just a little bit about the algorithm and how it works. I mean, let's just jump right in. Yeah, like the algorithms are not rewarding artists to get directly to they're not using the artists as the tools. We're the monkeys dancing to act how the platform wants us to engage with it in order to blow the platform up. Mm-hmm. So like TikTok and all that stuff, it's like you post once on Instagram, it only reaches 3% of your followers. So then it just kind of hit me like, what if I just got my data back from Capital, got the email list, put out a new after 6 years, just announce like an email list and only speak to the fans and give them everything 48 hours early before it goes to the algorithm. Because if I could reach 3% of all my almost 1 million followers or whatever on Instagram, I could just email them straight up. So it's like we've only really posted like 4 times for the whole rollout so far, but somehow the streams are working and things are moving. And so we did everything underground. We did a Windows 98 like forum where the fans talk to each other and I only interact there and I can speak in long form rather than having to go and tweet and have like thousands of posts and whatever. And then when there's something to really announce, we announce it on the Matrix, but then everyone's had it 48 hours before. Like our first single, Wash, we recorded a video in Iceland, shot the whole thing. I'm funding this whole thing myself, and just gave it away on a WeTransfer link for free on email 48 hours before the song came out. And I've noticed that without any promotion, the fans are so awesome that they're becoming the promotion, like BTS fans do, or something, like buying billboards for their favorite artists. It's like if you deliver them something, and I'm blessed enough to be in a position to pay for a video like that, to then just give it out for free, to sacrifice all the YouTube views. But you got a YouTube view is not worth as much as someone sharing it on their iMessage group chat with their actual friends, because then it's not like outwardly showy of a fan thing that looks cool to the culture. It looks cool to actual people. So we've been kind of seeing like the benefits from that so far.
Why go to Iceland when you can use AI?
Let's bring in every great mind in the world to now have this conversation.
I'm gonna just keep turning the knife until just see how this. Let's see how this interview goes. Okay.
Yeah. I think honestly, you want we don't have that much time, and so this is getting so meta so fast. I love it. I'm all about it. At a certain point, we're just gonna have to choose to work and do the thing because working feels good. Mm-hmm. If we keep saying the AI thing, and it's like, I'm not trying to say like I'm some sort of like future predictor of what that will all look like, but like at what point you had to grow the tree to get the apple. And then at one point you had a friend get you the apple and you paid him to get to the apple. Then you had a supermarket and all you had to do was get out of bed and go to the supermarket and there's apples everywhere. And then you had a DoorDash and they brought you the apple. So at what point is someone just going to like mash up the apple in their hand and jam it in your fucking mouth? Like you need to have purpose at some degree. So as a human, we're just going to have to figure out as musicians, like, I know I can get 7,000 different guitars on this in 17 seconds and it will sound better than anything I could have ever played. But like, I'm choosing to at least like go to the store and the supermarket to get my apple because I need to be in motion somehow to be doing something. And maybe there also will be a time where it's easier and someone says just like music production could end up just being like Siri, bring up a 1975 Eagles guitar and blah, 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 and drop it in here and maybe prompting and taste will become the forefront of what all this is. And that's a viable possibility. But for me personally, why not do a video for AI in Iceland and spend a lot of money to get there and fly out the crew and get a crew there and do that whole thing is just like, what else am I like? Sure, I could just like sit home all day and like could just send me AI images and we could just like do that. But like, I like to stay in motion and get in on it.
People can smell it. They know like they know
Yes,
they know
totally,
and it's
totally.
like you can
Totally.
You can give them Cinnabons and they can smell that too and they can be like, wow, that guy did the effort. And it's like, I want to, going back to another quote you said where it was, when somebody comes over for dinner, I don't want to entertain them, I want to feed them.
Absolutely.
It's that thing. It's
Absolutely.
like you can go and be like, look at this thing that I made using my computer and my iPhone. And it's like, wow, that's really cool. But you're like, look at the effort I've put in this to give you an experience as if you could visit here too.
You could make
live via that
exactly.
person.
You could make 70 million songs a day and that output and you can do that. But at a certain point, like if you're a chair maker, you'll always get the opportunity to make more chairs, and then the factory can come in, and then you can make 100 million chairs. And if you make 100 million chairs, then you can make $100 million, and then you can buy a bigger factory, and you never have to touch a chair again. You're a woodworker, and you don't have to touch the chair. It's like, yeah, but I like to touch the chair because I need to have a job and do something.
Yeah,
and I could be metaphorically speaking to the idea of what we're running into in the inescapable future of what will take over. But like, I still need a job, and at some point, someone's going to say, well, that job doesn't make sense. And you say, I would choose to be stupid and do the thing with my hands. And I'll choose to be not as, what's the word I'm looking for? I will lower my productivity in order to experience the process of doing the thing. Because the problem is we just keep making ourselves deeper in luxury to then not ever do the thing. And then we wonder why we're sad. It's because we're not doing the thing. We're just having the thing brought to us. But doing the thing is the reward. That is the thing. But slowly but surely we're removing the thing for the end product. I don't know if that made any sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense. You as like Jon Bellion specifically you're
the first guy. He's the first person in 6 years that ever gets my name right in anything. 17 times yesterday. Hey, with Jon Bellion, what a great writer.
Jon Bellion.
Sorry.
Jon Bellion.
I've given up on it, but that was encouraging. That's how I know I've known you for many years.
Jon Bellion. I just ruined all credibility I've ever had right there. Oh, so you, if I had any, but
you have a lot of credibility.
But Jon Bellion is the guy who does songwriting. He records music. He releases music, but a lot of your fans are your fans because of you performing music. And all of those things are different. You can have a career in any one of those 4 things. You choose to do all of them. Isn't some of that the chair maker isn't necessarily doing 4 different things. He just makes a chair. What's your version of what if somebody says, "Oh, what are you? Are you a performer? Are you a songwriter? Are you a producer? Who's Jon Bellion?"
Oh my gosh. I'm trying to think of the most like practical, realistic like nugget of something someone can draw out of it. I am a product guy. I'm a product guy. I just if
for the artist you are, that is a surprising answer. You're a product guy?
Product in the sense that when you're done making something, it's consumable for free, for $1 million, for anything. You've created a production, a product.
Yeah.
So I don't mean product as in like I make things that people want to buy and I make companies rich. I don't mean that. I mean
it's not merchandising.
No, but the greatest ever, all those guys are not great producers. They're great product guys. They make a great product. The label calls them to say, we need you to come out with an album. How they get it done, which I used to kick and tantrum about. Oh, this guy, he's got all these hits, but I know he's got 2 writers under him and 3 producers and da-da-da-da-da. But then when you see them work, you go, oh, they're just as talented at producing people as they are the DAW system. So you realize like product guys are able to last forever. Max Martin's a product guy. Because you can, I said it the other day, you could make a t-shirt and the logo and the decal of the t-shirt will always change over time. And as I get older, I will not have the same reference point for what's supposed to be on that t-shirt. Because my 15-year-old, he'll be at the time, son, will understand that greater than I do because I don't live a young man's life. So you could say, well, Jon Bellion can't work on younger music anymore. I said, no, I'm a product guy. As long as I can make the t-shirt properly and the cut is nice and I can help them on their journey to help them with the product that they want, because I understand product well, I can make music for a very long time. Max Martin. Max Martin was making the Backstreet Boys, and then he did some of the Weeknd's hard as shit. But that's not because he's always cool, relevant, blah, 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 and knows what's going on. Is that people bring their product to him and say, how can I make this viable for a larger amount of people? Because I want people to experience that. Those are the greats. That's the Rick Rubin. That's the Pharrell. That's the, the Max Martins. Yeah.
There's a thought of when you're young and you're using, like what you're talking about is fluid intelligence versus crystallized intelligence. That when you like basketball.
Yeah.
When you're when you're young and you're Steve Kerr on the Bulls or Steve Kerr on the Spurs, you're using your fluid intelligence. You understand the game. You're within the game.
Yes.
And using your crystallized intelligence is, oh, well, now I understand all the parts. I'm going to maneuver this. And then even as you grow older, you can be Michael Jordan, where you can own the team and the product line and all these things. And they're no longer using they may not even they won't have the physical skill or ability to use their fluid intelligence.
Yes. But
they have the crystallized intelligence to make the machine work.
Absolutely.
And they probably could still play pro ball and be effective in a different way because they're using that. And
at the end of the Jordan documentary, he said, like, yeah, when I got my 7th, how many rings did he have? 7. 6?
6. He
said, once I got my 6th, I really wish I could go for it 2 more seasons or something. And he was like, because my mind was in a completely different, I knew more about the game at that point. He said my body wasn't as great as it was 5 years prior or 6 years prior, but he was like, man, I think I could have won another one just with my mind, just because of how long he's been doing it for and how many championships he's had. He
Yeah.
knew more things about the game at a macro level. I think from a songwriting standpoint and production standpoint, I think that's just an age thing. When I was younger, it was inside the fishbowl, creating every single thing and proving so many points and checking so many boxes. And then the older you get, the more you kind of have to level out just to survive and not lose your life doing this type of stuff. And the more you level out, the more you naturally look at the product or the thing you made. Product is such like a dirty word. You look at the thing you made from a outside of the fishbowl thing for you to understand holistically what this is. What's the utility of this? If you understand the utility of something, you can make it applicable to a larger audience rather than trying to prove a million little points. And the million little points are more for, that's a young man's game to me. The million little points of trying to be I'm the best here, I'm the best here, I'm the best here. That was a young man game for me. Now I'm only utility driven. Like everything for me is like, if I'm looking at a shirt, if I'm looking at a song, if I'm like, what is the utility here? And do I need to not talk for the rest of this session in order for this utility to be the greatest it can be so someone can go use it? Or do I need to wear the producer, the writer, all the hats that you're mentioning?
You have the skill set to do it.
Deadly is turning it on and turning it off. And I think collaborative deadliness at the highest level is understanding that turning it off is just as potent as turning it on, because you're only here to usher the utility of the product.
When you're talking about being in the fishbowl and showing everybody all the things you can do, it's that weird ego that it must be it's so ingrained in human nature to be needed or get the
bro, everyone's this is a family until Rihanna cuts the song and it's like, what you mean I only did the human that everyone's best friends until millions get thrown in the pot. Everyone's family until the potential of something happens, and you'll see how in myself it switches. Wait a second, I gotta feed my family. No, I want, and it turns into a whole other ball game. I try to as I get older. You want that? Take it. Take it. You want that? Like, isn't the splits and stuff? I try. Every person ever that I've done a song with is gonna be like, not the time he did the blank song.
but how do you the industry has changed?
Oh yeah,
so much.
Absolutely.
Since even 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
One of the problems with having a lot of collaborators is that people are looking for streaming services to subsidize the pillaging of publishing.
Absolutely.
And
we just had that conversation
we
yesterday.
now give publishing to people who do drum programming, which is ridiculous because they are not songwriters.
Wait, hold on, let's I want to hear more. Why is that ridiculous to you?
Okay. What I keep
By
saying,
the way, I'm not saying I land on a side. I'm literally fascinated at why.
Yeah.
We've been talking with a bunch of different producers and creators, and some are like, of course, the guy that makes the drums is going to get publishing. Blah, blah, blah. Your breakdown is very knowledgeable of this, being that you're an advocate for.
If they're a songwriter, then I'm a producer. Full stop. So like,
I've never agreed with something more in my life.
If we're sharing everything, then let's share everything.
Yeah.
Then I also want my production, and I want my equal percentage on production.
It's so you're actually looking at, and I don't fall on this. You're literally looking at the side of. You're literally looking at like capitalism. And what's the other side of that?
Communism
or socialism, whatever. Those two things, the outplay of those two things, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, in the most extreme versions of them in some way, which is probably why you need balance in all things. I think balance is super important. You're right. It's like if we're splitting every single thing, then the Uber driver who brought the almond milk to pour in your fucking coffee that morning should be getting publishing, because without that moment of that thing, you would have never thought of that chorus, and you made a song called
Almond Milk,
a pop bedroom song. You made me almond milk in the morning, and I woke up and I just fuck around. But it like if
he's gonna get equal publishing for whoever samples that and makes a hit off it. Yes. That's my challenge. I want someone to challenge, and we're gonna play this over quietly. Play it.
Yeah,
cool. Yeah. All right, now take that. You're gonna whoever gets honestly, it now has a Jon Bellion cut. Congratulations.
I recognize
these guys have a co-write.
Yeah. Sometimes it's also like you gotta like hyper compete to get in the cool club, and then there's 6 people in the room that are the hottest at the moment, and they all come together, and you have a really good chance of an A&R who knows nothing about nothing musically they just know Jon Bellion, Amy Allen, Omer Fetty, and are in a room. And if that's the case, they're going to listen to that song.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to pay for the plane tickets. Everyone's going to get. So then you have a higher chance to get in the cut. So then you're in a room with a lot of people. It's just the name of the game. You got guys like Rick Beato or whatever being like, how could there be 8 people on the song and blah, blah. Like, this is crazy. Like, this is nuts. And music should have never been this way. It's like, what do you want to do, man? At certain points, you have to define these things. We're going to go to Capitol Hill and define what all of those things are. And when someone walks in the room, you're like, wait. If you step 3 more steps forward and you even say a melody, please do not do that because you will not be here today.
No.
It has to flow. You know what I'm saying? It does have to flow.
My thought is this: I'm
playing both sides of the fence, by the way.
Sure. And one is, yes, you do go to Capitol Hill and you do define it. That's one thing.
Example, yes.
You know, if an actual song, I believe the definition of music is organized sound, which is great. The definition of a song is lyric and melody because you can change what's underneath it, and it's still the lyric and melody. So when we think of what a song is in a technical way, because you can interpret that song in so many different ways. The people who are interpreting the song are different than those who are crafting the song.
Absolutely.
Sometimes, the last time we did a session, maybe the last time I saw you in person, I don't know if this is right, but last time we like did a session, it was at Monsters and Strangers. Pollock was there and Amy Allen was there, and I am also inexplicably there. And I'm like,
as if you're not.
and like
hit songwriter.
and you're like, in that room, everyone there is contributing to the song, so that's different. Those people are different than like
we're running into a larger issue. We're running into a larger like. There's a sense of scarcity, therefore you have to get into the minutia of what all that means. Meanwhile, the label's like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
we get our 40, fuck off, you guys figure it out. We'll give you 6 points. And I said it in the Janko interview. I said, we drop a stake in the UFC pit and we sit on our cow and we drop 1 stake in the pit and we say, peons, fight for it. And I'm not saying that a drum programmer shouldn't get publishing. I'm not saying any of that stuff because when you get into the nitty gritty of it, some days I have gone full-blown psycho and went to another world and made 100% of a song in front of a room full of 8 people and all people have split it. And then there's other days where I've been like, this is just a great song. I have nothing to say. I'm watching a great song. And then we end up splitting it even.
That's
so it's like,
different. I'm not suggesting that.
I bet you everybody would be way more easier on this conversation is because we're all spinning our wheels together, getting the mincemeat. And if we're working on moral and principle and you take my bank account into consideration, shut the fuck up. You're not allowed to like diminish my opinion on what is morally just and right in a given situation, given the amount of money. So if we were only making $10, then I can fight for what I believe is right. But if I make $2 million on it, when there's $30 million on the table, and I'm like, that's not right. And someone's like, well, you're already rich. It's like, that's not the fucking point because us fixing it at the high level will fix it at the low level, which will fix whatever. So like, that's just like, that's a ridiculous statement to make towards somebody.
You have an
have to have these conversations
to create the precedent that will affect those who are in the middle, lower and middle class of songwriting who are working their way up.
We're looking at a pizza pie. Yeah. Then they're taking one piece of the crust off the pie and all of us are like arguing and getting in fights and our egos are coming into play is because we're literally like, but like, I need that little crumb of the pizza of the pizza pie. And it's like, dude, I don't know how to like, I don't know, get on horseback and go ride into fucking Sony and be like, I light this on fire. Like, let's change the world. I don't fucking know. It's just, but like, let's call a spade a spade. And people wonder why I get a little iffy in front of some of these guys. They take us out to dinner. I got questions.
NMPA is the premier organization for music publishers and their songwriter partners. It's their mission to increase the value of music, and that's exactly what they do. NMPA is working right now to raise royalty rates for songwriters from streaming services, radio, social media, and everywhere music is essential. From the courts to Congress, NMPA works to get songwriters what they deserve. I know because I've served on the board before, and I'm the current co-chair, along with Ryan Tedder and Liz Rose, for the Golden Platinum Club. So again, thank you NMPA for supporting And the Writer Is, and songwriters everywhere.
Let me ask you, let me just quickly, because when you do it for a long time, there's passion behind it. People's like, he just looks upset because he's got so much money and that's not that. You're struggling artistically for fucking 10 years.
No, and when I think if people are as successful as the day you meet them, this is a great truth. By the way, there's a podcast. I think it was a Malcolm Gladwell one where he talked about how people remember the ends of stories and the beginnings of people.
Wow. I love that.
I don't think of you as like, you don't walk in, I'm not like, holy shit, look at all you've done, other than me being proud of my friend.
Yeah,
I
you know what it is?
Like
and I could
a different version of you.
That really opens up a thing for me that I feel encouraged by that. Because if you just like, you were saying like, what are you? It's like, I'm a product guy, but like, I also just like really care. And when you care, you risk saying something to lead in a direction that might not be fully formed or whatever. And you have to be willing to be like, okay, I was wrong about that, but I still care the same amount. So I have to keep going and figuring this out in a way that no matter how successful I get, I still have to remain relatively dangerous. The problem is you get so successful that everybody just shuts you up and you're not dangerous anymore to make any type of change. I'm not saying you have to remain so dangerous that you're willing to burn something down, that you kill everything in your path on the way. There has to be some sort of balance and nuance. Have I figured that out? No. But there are times where it's like, sometimes you got to remain in this weird place of like, I'll light the money on fire. I'll light the money on fire. And you got to look them in the eye and be like, why? It's like, because I'm just fucking sick in the head. I have everything I need. I have my wife. I have my kids. Why are you not da-da-da-da-da? And people be like, oh, he's going over the top. And it's like, it's not that. It's just like, you don't know what 10 years, you know what 15 years of waking up every single day trying to do the thing. And every single day you get hammered over the head with some sort of, and then you have one conversation and you go, blah, 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 and people are like, it's on, he's over the, you're struggling, you're like clawing in a fucking race. And then by the time you get like near the finish line, people are like, why are you so tired? It's like,
man,
what are you talking about?
We've done
bro?
like looking at the number from your first interview. You're in the 50s, like 50 something interview. Now we're at like past 200. And if there's one thing you can take away from this podcast, that it doesn't matter how successful you are, we are all struggling musicians.
In the sense
I don't care I don't care who you are.
Yes.
If you are trying to create music, you are walking in to a wall every single day.
Every single time. By the time I did X artist, I don't need to say names. I did a bunch of songs on a single album, and I never did that many songs on a large artist record. And then 5 months later, I figure out like, oh, I should have been the executive producer. No one ever even acknowledged it. No one offered me points. I wrote with a bunch of talented people. I wrote a lot of the songs. I produced on every single one that I was. And then 6 months later, I was like, oh my gosh, they held on to like 4 extra points that would have been such a big difference. And then me moving forward, the CEOs want to be like, why are you so angrily being like, I'm executive producer because you did 10 out of 12 songs? It's like, because that's not going to happen to me again.
Yeah.
No one told me the keys. No one let me know. So when you keep going, you don't know any information. And then you're like in these spaces trying to figure it out. And then you learn what you learn. And then moving forward, it's tough not to be a bit snippy or jaded or whatever, because it's like, hey, you're not going to do that to me the way that you did that to me 6 years ago. So you're bringing all this like trauma and pain and whatever into the situation. And as your bank account's going up as well, like it's not, those two things are not like simultaneous. Like it's like the bank account number doesn't change.
No, the thing that
everybody's Instagram doesn't look like the conversation that they have with their manager. If you let go of the conversations and audio you had with your manager, this whole thing wouldn't be like, thanks for having me. When I wrote the record, it was like an amazing situation. It's like, no, that wasn't how that's not that. So let's call a spade and just like try to figure it out. And if you have to look silly in the process, then just look silly in the process. It's like, we still have to be dangerous enough to figure it out, to look silly and figure it out. It's like, we're trying to figure this out in real time.
I think when you were talking about how you get protective, because you're like, this is my family now.
Yeah.
You know, you start to change the whole thing where it's like, no, that 4 points is not for me. It's for my children.
Yeah.
It's for my wife.
Yep.
It's for like, this is my life.
Yep.
This is not like, I'm happy to be here, but that's not why I'm doing it.
Yep.
And there's like a difference. I think the assumption is that songwriters should be happy to be there still. And you're like, nah. And
Dude.
I was talking to a writer.
Bro, hold on to that. Whatever you're thinking, I don't hear you talking to a writer. We are at it's not woe is me. I'm just telling you from the pie chart.
Yeah.
We are literally getting pennies on the dollar and creating the entire song.
What is in your eyes, what is the fair breakdown of what songwriters and producers do compared to what an artist does, compared to what a label does?
Well, it's like you always have to like keep your ego in check as well, because you also recognize that a lot of these artists gave up their entire lives to make your 2 points very valuable. So if you do get 2 points from X artist who's like this miserable king on a hill that like is super famous and they're trapped in their life and their whole thing, and you're like, I go home to my family and I just like go hang out and the check comes in the mail, their sacrifice has made them a money machine. So I can't necessarily be like, now I want 20 points, because you also have to factor that into the situation. Like, this artist technically gave up their life in order for me to have a valuable 2 points. So then I feel kind of bad being like, you know what, I should get 20 of them. Which, like, Jon, that contradicts everything you've ever said. It's like, those are just the thoughts in my mind. I'm like, shit, I should probably like chill. Like, this dude's like, you can get your points. But then other times I'm like, what? The artists are only getting paid. It's like very contradictory.
Mm-hmm.
But we are on I would say very clearly though that songwriters are on the bottom of the pole. I gotta get editorial playlisting for this album coming and shit, but like someone's got it. If it's streaming has paid songwriters dirt, bro. I'm not fucking the Martin Luther King of songwriting. I'm not claiming to like lead us to some sort of like odd promised land. I'm just saying like songwriters have been paid dirt, bro. Go talk to like a hot songwriter that's known for coming in and the producers understand that they're a songwriter and the songwriter comes in and they're a hot songwriter. It's like, well, that's just a game and you got to work in life and you got to can't complain. It's like, I understand that. It's just like, but songwriters got it rough. I've written enough records and produced enough records to see a lot of sides of a lot of things. I'm the label now, so I'm seeing the side of the label and the struggles of that because I'm funding my own album now. It's like, what it is, I don't know. I just love caring and having conversation about it because the knowledge of it will help someone much younger have a way better time by taking how I messed up. Someone much younger just doesn't have to mess up that way.
Well, the more we talk about some of these things, the more ubiquitous the concepts are, the more that
the general consciousness.
The next
rises.
person, like if we get healthcare for songwriters, that currently doesn't exist because we don't have a proper group insurance for songwriters. Like that will happen because we keep talking about it. I'd like to think that we can claw back some of the publishing from people who aren't songwriters who are asking for publishing along the way. I'd like to think that we'll get, that we'll get participation on sound recordings and masters. As songwriters. I hope that also becomes part of the conversation because we keep talking about it.
It's the crazy person to some degree that kicks and screams, and at first listen, you say, what? They're rich, they're this, they're that. That doesn't make any sense. But then you say like, then you go to a party and you sit down with your friends and some of them might be an A&R, one might be a CEO, one might be this. And that dude's nuts, right? He was talking about how like songwriters get paid dirt. It's like, he's so rich. What an idiot. Yeah. What an idiot. And then the room goes quiet. And then like someone in the back is like, songwriters do get paid dirt though.
Yeah, right.
And then the whole consciousness generally moves. So it's important to some degree. That's what I talk about my wife with this. It's just like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I just know like I have to do it to enact the thing. Because
you were part of funding, and you're like, oh, now I'm funding my career. No, you're kind of well known for funding your career throughout other people supposed to be funding your career. So I'm not like, that's not really news, but by putting yourself in that position, I think people conflate success with advocacy sometimes. You're like, no, these are totally separate things.
Absolutely.
If you're saying that songwriters should get paid more, you're not saying it's not the commercial that what was it? Tidal did when they first came out, where it was like songwriters saying we need it. It was Jay-Z and Beyonce and Jack White and like this table of like the greatest songwriters of all time or artists of all time, certainly not songwriters, the artists of all time, saying that they should that this is a place where where songwriters can get paid more, and it fell flat because it didn't specify the idea that no, it's not for us.
Yep.
There are streaming services that pay better to songwriters than Spotify, but you'd have to change consumer habits, and that's unlikely to happen.
Exactly.
So anyway, I want to talk about some of the stuff since 2019 when we did this last. Man, you said some incredible things on that interview. You texted me sometime, maybe over COVID or something, where you listened through it, and it was like some of the aspirations that you had, you fulfilled and exceeded by like tenfold. And you found you're a circle of writers. Granted that you have a couple circles, but you found a few circles that really just did so much pop damage in a way that the Brill Building has moments or Motown has moments.
Totally.
Yeah. I want to go into some specific songs, but first, some of the specific writers, Monsters and Strangers, Pollock, Michael Pollock, Amy Allen, that crew of some permutation.
Mm-hmm.
It just seemed easy. Was it? Is it?
Easy in the sense of like, your life's a lot easier when you're around people of that caliber, of that talent level, which sometimes I'm like, that's probably a skill of mine as well. It's like, I can identify to be like, oh, you'll help. So that's always in my brain when I'm in a room. Like, I'm always just like, oh, you'll help.
Crystallized intelligence.
Yeah.
Exactly. I don't have to do trumpets. I'm not going to do all of it on this one.
There's certain people when you watch them and you watch them in the first 10 minutes, and Amy Allen, she gets on the guitar and it's just like a freestyle. And you just know you've been doing it long enough where you're just like, oh, in the back of your mind, you're like, she's about to have 10 more. Oh, cool. Let's write. Let's go. Same thing with Pollock. Same thing with, like, I'm trying to think of all the, like, Tehran. Certain guys, you're just like, whether I'm in a room or not, these guys about to go off. Let's make some music. And that's just the kind of way that I've kind of like treated it,
I feel like Memories was the first hit after our interview.
Mm-hmm.
And it maybe came out like right during that, something like that, there's like, that might have even at the time after, years after the Eminem stuff, and, it's like, that might have been the biggest hit you had at the time.
Probably.
Really close.
Probably, yeah.
I don't know. How did it start feeling to have these hits with other people at that level while also still pursuing being an artist?
I wasn't at the time. The artist thing was completely shut down.
Internally too?
Internally. I was never going to be an artist again. Period.
Crazy.
Yeah. Call Capital the day if you don't give me my masters and switch the ratio and I get the bulk of the masters, I'm never making a song again. Ha ha ha, click. I said, you think I'm bluffing? I'm not bluffing. I will just never make a song again. I do not care, because I just can't in my right mind. Could I have kept making songs? Was it self-inflicted? Blah 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 blah. Yeah, but I actually wasn't too like absolutely depressed about it. Like, I was just like, this is just healthier for me. Like, I just don't. Even this whole chase for me is not as healthy. And I told my wife, I said, I'll just go back to. Will you still love me if I go to McDonald's? Like, I don't know how I'm going to make this work. I'm just going to start writing songs again in the basement and just like hopefully that works. And it just went crazy. Like, for the last 6 years, it just went nuts. So nuts to the point where the regime changes at Capitol and I get a phone call and they're like, you're worth more to us having 10-20% on our side and you get 80, rather than us having 80 and 20 and you never putting out anything.
Yeah.
And honestly, this is a crazy shout out to Fletcher. Fletcher wanted to work with me. She was on Capitol. And Fletcher was kind of like, why is Jon being like a little weird about working with Capitol artists? Like, what's going on? I think it was to Jeremy Vernick, who was working there at the time. And Jeremy had no skin in my game. He came in after I came in. He's working with Halsey at the time and blah, blah, blah. He kind of came in and was like, yo, what is it going to take for you to like come back and just like be happy? Like, just own my music.
Yeah.
just on my music. I'm not even saying you guys got to be out of the question. I get 100%. You just got to give me my shake. If I'm producing and writing and did my own music, I'm gonna need that. And he was like, that actually sounds super fair. He calls the president at the time. I'm sure there was another regime change. Whoever the president of the Capitol was at that time, they can't hold on to their seats out there. But he called me on something, and they were just on some like, let's just switch it. We didn't even sign you. We're 2 presidents gone and regime changes from when you got signed. What is it gonna take, John? I was like, yo, just flip it, invert it, and give me my stuff back. And they were just like down for the cause. But hold on, I want to get back to the talented writers around me.
No, that's
there's
fine.
a lot
All
of
this
talented
is
writers
good.
around
I
me.
think one of the questions I was having about something like memories was just going back to that, because it sort of becomes this like, it introduced the writing team, some of those talented writers, this like group.
Yes.
So I think that's why I feel like that the memories thing is an interesting turning point in your career, at least commercially speaking.
Yes.
And my question is that memories is about
my friend's father had passed away.
So because it was supposed, I thought memories was, at least their performance was about Jordy losing their manager. Or at least that was the thing.
Well, Adam wrote on that second verse, and he definitely infused his situation into the thing.
So tell me about what was the situation that prompted you to write memories.
We had I literally had walked in. Everyone was working, and I had to skip a day. I had to skip a day because I went to my buddy's father's funeral, who passed away of like a heart attack out of nowhere. And I literally left the funeral, changed the dress shoes, put on sneakers, and drove to the Hamptons where like everybody was there that day. And correct me if I'm wrong. You could ask Pollock, or we did Anyone for Bieber and Memories in the same day.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm almost 99% positive that like the nuggets, both of those nuggets that were started on that day were both of those songs. I think Explicit. It was me, Explicit. Raul from OG Volta. It was like we were running some sort of camp or something, and then it ended up just like in both rooms, things just were popping off. And I was just like feeling so much about the loss and the thing that made me think about my grandmother, which then birthed telling my wife, if it's not you, just if something happens tomorrow. Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot happened during that time. Yeah. Which makes you realize too, I learned so much about writing those songs with geniuses like Explicit, Pollock, Monsters and Strangers, geniuses. I learned so much in that thing. It's like, you got to be careful to not get in the way of your own smashes sometimes. That's another thing I learned later on, where I was doing like kind of like, yeah, keep playing that. It's like, yeah, and if it's like a like Bob Marley-esque thing, there's a time that I remember, and I'm on the mic and I'm thinking like, this will never, but it's flowing very easily. I remember getting back to my house last night and my wife was like, what'd you do today? It's like, we made some sort of just like simple, it's an organ, it's never going to see the light of day. And I was wrong. I was so wrong. And then in my mind too, I'm always like, oh, I'm trying to make this artistically accomplished thing and blah, 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 blah. And then when it was about to come out, I was like, could we add drums and make it cooler? It's like, this is like really pop. And I'm like scared of how pop this was. But what if I'm known as the guy who makes like pop songs? And it started to kind of take over. And then you fast forward and Kobe's daughter is like singing it with her class after he passes on ESPN. And I was like, oh my gosh, my ego almost got in the way of what that song was supposed to be. Like, thank God I've learned a little bit on how to get the fuck out of the way of things I'm making. Sometimes you got to get the fuck out of the way of things that you're making.
One thing you're really protective about is your fan base.
Yeah.
And I think when you're writing for other people, it's about being protective of their fan base. If that makes sense. Like when we're in, it's one of the things that we champion in this studio in particular. It's like when you walk in, you're not in my studio. We're not in your studio. And if you're an artist, you're not even in yours. You're in your fans' studio. What can we give them?
Wow.
That's an experience where they can feel connected to you.
Wow.
The conversation is with them.
Yep.
So if you can make it only about fans, like ego has to be out.
Has to.
And you're a songwriter, like you're so far removed from that like if you're not championing if you're not protecting the fan base of the artist you're writing with, and some of that's giving them something that they weren't expecting.
I was going to say, sometimes protecting the fan base is cracking them in a way to open them to the idea of what something like the Jonas Brothers record that I did, like we top to bottom executive produced the record, and it was very, I think it was like I felt in my gut, it was just like a great moment in time to just be like, let's just like take this to a place.
Yeah, just go there.
Just go and then
Yeah.
see where the chips fall. And like, you're right. Sometimes it's the other thing. Sometimes it's like you have to gauge where a person's at, and it's like, well, they need the big one right now.
Yeah.
If so-and-so artist is like kind of popping on something, you're like, you don't even know it yet. And I know you're trying to be like whatever, but Rihanna had to make Shut Up and Drive to like get to Run This Town. Like Bruno Mars had to make the Lazy Song to get to Uptown Funk. It's like you have to like, that's another thing you do when you're been in the game for a while, is that like people also bring you in sometimes for you to tell them what your opinion is on what they might need.
Yeah,
because you're in service
right.
of them, you know?
Yeah. Your run with Bieber gets pretty crazy too. I mean, obviously the Holy Anyone, Hold On, Ghosts. I mean, it's basically, you know, it's a lot of that album.
Yeah.
You know, in sort of like I think the two most valuable things for a songwriter is to break an artist and to reinvigorate an artist. And with Memories, you do that with Maroon 5. And Bieber, it's like that on steroids, where it's like here he had reached he was at the top, and then he gets top a year. You know, like how does that happen? But I like, why did your vision align so well with Justin's vision in the time of purpose?
Flawed guy trying to do the right thing, happened to be married, happened to exist in a space where they're frustrated and still want to make an impact positively. And it just was just like, and when those two things just kind of hit, it was like, I feel like I know you well enough because I kind of am you in a non-creepy way. It's just like I am I understand your thing, the thing that whatever you're struggling with, that it takes over sometimes and it comes back and the thing but the impact you're trying to make, it was very simple. I was just writing songs about my life. And I think it just so happened that like I was doing a session with Watt, I was doing a session with Skrillex, I did a session with did a session with and it just so happened that like Bieber happened, like by the grace of God, was on like a trail of working with the producers that I was working with. And he just kept going from place to place. And Skrillex would be like, oh, I did I think Love by You is the one I did with Skrillex on the Bieber record, and he hit play and it's my vocal. And I think Bieber then starts working with Watt, and Watt's like, dude, I'm working with this guy, John. He hits the space bar on the vocal, and it's me. I think after a while, he was like, someone give me this kid's number and FaceTime and operate from there. So I think it was just like serendipity in a way that you just can't control.
Just imagine had you gotten 4 points on that record. Can you share any? Can you share?
Every writer and actual writer and producer is going to be like, "Wow."
Can you share any memorable stories specifically? Well, I mean that's a memorable story. We'll just.
But by the way, that album, also the people involved, like
the best
from Scooter down, changed my life.
Yeah,
like that's so it's not all like, you know. I just think I'm super grateful for that situation.
Yeah,
for sure. And Bieber's
this is the thing that I can be very clear about. It's really fun to write with you. Like I one of the things that you say is like, is this fun? Even if it's a serious song.
Yeah.
Is this fun to sing?
Yep. Everyone's like, how do you change the paradigm? It's like when you wake up to be like, yo, I'm going to change the paradigm today. It's like, yeah, that could be in like your shoebox under your bed as your like macro goal. But if you're having a blast, it's very hard to compete with that. Yeah. It's very hard to compete with the guy who's having a lot of fun. Steph Curry's having a lot of fun. Steph Curry's having a blast. Very hard to stop that guy.
Yeah.
Very hard to stop when you're having.
He loves it.
He's like dancing and shit.
I think that's the thing about like I can't tell if you love or loathe the music business.
I don't know either.
Because I feel like I love it. I love the parts that are terrible, and I love being loud about that. And I like it, and like it's fun to fight fights that when it's very clear you're on the right side of, where it's hard to justify. It's hard for somebody to come in and justify, hey, this person played a sample on, use a sample, and he also wants all these people want publishing, and it's just like it's pretty hard for you to justify that to me.
I know.
Because you know where I'm going to stand with it. So that
know.
person has to call with the tail between their legs and be like, hey, this person wants 10% of the song. And you're like, you know the answer, so why are you asking me? You know, it's fun. Like that part's fun. I like that.
It feels good to be in that position because it's you so clearly would be able to go to war for that position. You're like, listen, I'm putting my ego, I'm putting my pride on the table here. Like, let's go to war. Let's have this conversation. You know, it's easier to have a conversation when you feel like there's no way out of this.
Yeah.
You know what it is? Run the idea through telling someone who doesn't make music.
Yeah.
When you tell the story of how this song came to be, it's like, if we turned on a camera in that room that day, would you be proud of whatever? Now think of what you're asking for.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's usually the tactic.
Well, that's what my thing is like, let's go back to when only songwriters were listed as songwriters. And then say, okay, you tell me, what is a songwriter? Wow. And if you can justify that those other things are songwriting, not a publishing play, are they songwriters? Did they write the song? Because pretty sure most of those people are going to struggle with the vocabulary to justify that contribution to songwriting. Okay, it's
true.
Jungkook.
Yeah.
Whoa. That was way bigger than I thought that was going to be. Maybe not. Maybe
and the Jimin thing too.
And the Jimin thing.
Yeah, the lead.
Like
the lead
what?
Friend. Yeah, I don't know. They just be taking my songs. I'm down for the cause. I'm not gonna fucking like fight that thought process. It's just like, sure.
A conversation. Do you think of songs written for specific genres as more emotionally successful than others? Oh
yeah, absolutely. And there's certain intentions that you could like. I sometimes walk into things with like. Sometimes I'm like, this song clearly, and given the artist chose life and the direction that they want to live and the lifestyle that they want to lead, this is clearly more of me doing the greatest version of a math equation to go get the most people to come and listen to the song. Sometimes that's just my only thing. I don't even care what you're singing about. I don't even care what you're doing. Given the artist, given the directive of where they want to take this artist, the artist's goals and how famous or huge they want to be. Sometimes I'll be writing songs. I'll be like, my artistic integrity of my personal taste has gone completely out the window. And I'm like, it's just all fun. I know is when you get out of the car, you're still going to be singing it. Yeah. And sometimes there's records that you just like, you gotta get rid of the. Some people just want to stay artistic all the time and be like, I'm an artist because it's fuck you. I just think that there's a time and a place for it all. McDonald's after the club is great. I think I said that on the last podcast. McDonald's after the club is great. Ain't nobody want Grey Poupon and fucking, fish eggs for after the club. You want like a greasy, dirty, disgusting. There's a time, and we wake up the next day and say the club was fun and that McDonald's was great. Because there's a time and a place for it. To say that there's one way to be about every single record approach is just like, that's a young man's thought process.
One of our writers has a really big K-pop song coming out, and we've been having this discussion. Like I have a song coming out in China with this woman who sold 46 stadiums out, and you've never even heard of her.
What?
Yeah. Jolin Tsai, and she's super nice. She's really good. She's like a Madonna there.
Crazy.
And you don't even know she exists.
That's nuts.
And it's this idea of like, if your songs are being performed in front of that many people, isn't that the same as like, I feel like in the people who are listening to this podcast who are songwriters are thinking that they need to see people that look like them for them to understand how big a hit is in Asia, India.
Wait, reword that? What do you mean?
Like, I think that a lot of times people look at the success of a song through the eyes of like, oh, this song is being performed in an arena in Omaha, in an arena in Seattle, an arena in Miami. But when it's in Shanghai and it's in Seoul or it's somewhere else, that the songwriters don't really feel the same kind of joy when they just don't understand like the 2.3 billion streams.
Yeah.
Is 2.3 billion streams. It doesn't matter.
Yes.
How incredible is that?
Yes.
And how important it is in a small world like we have right now.
Totally.
That we celebrate our writers' successes in regions that are not the United States.
Yeah.
That if you have the biggest hit in South America, that is just as cool as anywhere else.
Absolutely.
And I just think there's this weird understanding because there's this giant race in LA and in, mostly in LA, aiming for what's big in LA and what's big in in the United States.
Yeah.
But you write that song that's really big in Korea and the rest of Asia and the rest of the world. That is just, it's huge.
It's huge. I think that consciousness is growing simply because songwriters are having to go to other areas and avenues outside of, I think right now, a lot of huge artists, they have their right-hand man. Even working on my album, I had the same Pete Nappy and Ten Rock were the real glue of the album, because you're together and you're thought streaming consciousness and I think the idea of big records from a bunch of different people for a huge artist because they're gonna have a string of hits on the radio. I don't even not sure how much that even exists anymore. Man, it's just Olivia and Dan. It's Billy and Phineas. You can songwrite and you could, but a lot of these artists are so talented that they're just going to want to write their own shit. I'd rather make a worse song for myself as an artist, but I made it because it's me, rather than getting some sort of prepackaged thing. Because the idea of a pop star now is it just doesn't exist anymore. I don't think people like celebrities anymore. I think it's just it's just dead. It's almost like people are celebrities for how much they're not. Hi, I'm a streamer and I just wake up and play video games. You know me. It's yeah, I know him. He's not above us. It's yeah, that's my guy. The second you start to get into this thing, something about celebrities now, people are just shut the fuck up. Because I'm kind of in that place. Shut up. Shut up. It's we're all struggling. We're all stop. The rehearsed, I just got to say the thing that makes no one mad at me thing. It's we're wasting so much artistic time. We're wasting so much artistic time. It's insane.
Have you ever written a song for somebody else and then realized it's to Jon Bellion to give it to them and kept it for yourself?
There is a record on the new album featuring Luke Combs. It's a duet that me and him are doing together, and probably 4 different artists cut that record, and I'm not even trying to sound over spiritual about it or anything. All 4 of them were personally text me with the song back and said, something happened when I tried to sing this. This is not my song. This is yours. That's never happened to me in my career. But this song specifically, 4 different artists in 4 completely different genres of music, we're going to take this song. And all 4 of them were I tried to cut this. And this is your record. There's a dust on this thing. There's a spirit on it. There's whatever. That's never happened to me. And that was the only song I made during the complete hiatus of I'm never going to be an artist again. Because me, Amy Allen, and Blake Slacken were in a studio, and I won't say the artist's name, but he had to cancel because something happened. He got sick or something. But it was where I live in Cove City in Long Island, and we were in Cove City, the studio. And Blake Slacken was you know what we should do if they're not going to show up? Blake said it. I'll give him the credit all day long. He's I want to make a Jon Bellion record. I was dude, I haven't written a Jon Bellion record in 3 years, and I'm never going to be an artist again. He was I don't care. He's I kind of came here to just make a Jon Bellion record. Because let's be honest, this is going to be a Jon Bellion record whether the artist cuts it or not. Yeah. And I remember him laughing, and then Amy was I'm so down. Yeah. Amy's been super supportive of my artist stuff too. She came to shows when we were touring and stuff. She's great. She's super genius, just like Blake. And they both were yeah, and that was 48 hours before my son was born. So I wrote the song Why is a panic attack 48 hours before my son came into the world. He came 4 weeks early, so I didn't expect him to come into the world, but it was this my wife could call me at any moment to tell me that my first son is coming into, and then I started having these weird existential.
Where were you when your wife was?
I was on my way to the studio again I think it was Niall Horan. 2 days later, Niall Horan with a different artist came to Long Island to the Cove City studio, and he was just in the studio with some guys that are Ten Rock, Clyde, and Jordan of Lawrence, super talented band. And my wife, I was on my way to the studio, and my phone rang. My wife's we're having a baby. You can't go to the studio today. It's what? We didn't have the crib. It was 4 weeks early. I didn't build it yet. I had my brother-in-law come over. I was here we got to get this ready. But yeah, the whole song is about this giant question. I'll play it for you if you have time after.
Oh yeah.
I'll play you a couple songs.
And
Luke went crazy on it. Luke went crazy on it. The song is crazy.
I gotta say, Luke and Blake and Amy have all been on this podcast, and it's like, it's nice to see like the family like doing the thing.
I love it.
Are you a good dad?
That's the whole album. I don't know. That's the whole album. That's this whole entire record.
I mean, the title makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, fitting into that figure of what that is and what that means today and what that means for me. What that means for me. What's the figure of a father for me to try to mold myself to that feels right for me. That's the whole thing.
What is the job of a dad?
Being present. As I'm in LA doing
across
the country.
No, but we have this conversation like for in this generation, because you have the ability to, especially for songwriters, you can often work in your head. You can be, is it better to be present and sometimes distracted?
No.
Or is it better to be absent as previous generations and it's more like present or absent, like because it's hard to not be a little bit distracted from time to time now.
I think the fight for a father for something, or the fight for me as a father, is present and not distracted.
Do you put your phone away?
Yes. Period. On weekends, it's very, very hard to get in contact with. It doesn't make me a great dad. I'm just, you're asking such an existential question. Are you
Sure.
a great dad? It's like,
I mean, this is a battle we all have, right?
And I wake up every day. It's like, even with my oldest son, I have 3 boys. Even with my oldest son, he gets a bit of the brunt of my anxiety and my saying, is this proper behavior? And then my guy under him, he crashes out on the floor and has a tantrum. And I'm like, that's 2-year-old behavior. But with my oldest, I don't have that gauge. He's the first 3-year-old I've ever had. He's the first 4-year-old I've ever had.
Were you
He's
an
the
older
first
sibling?
5-year-old. No, I was the youngest of 4.
Same. And
by the way,
I
I had tattoos when I was 15. I was visiting my sisters, my brother. They were not able to get tattooed. I got the chill parents.
I never understood until my son was born my wife's a younger sibling. I'm a younger sibling. My daughter is a younger sibling. The only one who knows what it's like to be an older sibling is my son. Yeah. And like when you're an adult, you're like, I've got to learn from this kid. Yeah. This kid is about to teach me.
Yes.
All the way.
I realize I have to give my oldest son a ton of grace because I sometimes, my wife says that to me a lot. I don't give myself a lot of grace. I expect so much out of myself, and I have to like, I'm very, very hard on myself, like wildly hard on myself. And I think that creates what it creates in me. But I got to make sure I'm not projecting that onto my oldest son. Because again, I don't have a reference point for proper behavior for a young kid. So then when he acts out in the supermarket because he can't get a cookie or whatever, I can't have a panic attack to say, does he have a behavioral problem? Is this kid out of his mind? Right. I got to breathe slow. Because now my 2 younger guys, they be doing the same thing. I wanted the spoon that was red, not the one that was blue. And then you hand them the red spoon and they still freak out because he doesn't have a green spoon. When my oldest was doing that, I was like, whoa. I turned to my wife. I'm like, is this normal? What's happening? And my impatience and because it was a reflection of, you're a reflection of me. And if you act this way when you get older, society won't accept you. And my job is to make you likable. And it's like, as time goes on, that's a reflection of me. Kids will show you, this is my problem, not his problem. But the problem is you only learn that with your younger kids because your oldest one is like the one spearheading the experiences that you've never had as a parent.
They're so brave.
My son, sweet boy.
Yeah.
Might not even need to keep all this. My son is a sweet boy. He's a good boy. He handles it very well. Probably gonna have to get rid of this.
It's weird when I see anything with
that's
dads and sons is a separate thing because you are just like my son crawls in the bed and he cuddles with me.
Beautiful.
And you're like, man, you're going to be a man and you will outgrow this.
Oh, I have a song, the last song on the album called My Boy. I'll play it for you. The album is this like weird, the way I feel right now, talking about my son, is this weird fight and this love and this pressure and this like thing that we need to change this and make this better and blah, 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 blah. It's like that fight is the entire album. Yeah, my oldest son is such a sweet boy. I can't believe how kind he is to people and like shocks me. He's a good kid.
If your children want to pursue music, do you support them in that?
I've taken the stance, and I don't know if the kid psychology bloggers are gonna, or whatever the fuck, podcast, whatever, but I've taken the stance of I'm gonna hang out until I judge something that lights them up, and then I'm just gonna pour gasoline on that.
Yeah.
If my son, I don't really like baseball. Never been like a baseball guy. I like going to the games, getting a hot dog with like my dad and shit, but I don't like playing baseball. The sport doesn't, whatever, man. It's like if my sons could get into basketball, I'd be elated. But I don't want to program anything. I just want to see what God's hand or plan for their life, and then like have the wherewithal and the wisdom to understand that for them to be in their purpose. So my thing is like, I'll just let them find their purpose to some degree. Also help them and guide them and give them tools to help find their purpose.
Well, you can introduce them to things.
Exactly. But no, I don't. If he wants to be a musician and I can tell that lights his purpose up and that makes him happy to do that. Absolutely.
If you were talking to younger you,
Mm-hmm.
how would you approach your career and your life now? Like, what would you be doing differently now than you did throughout this? You've had such a unique journey. I know, like, where, you just have had a unique journey as a songwriter, as an artist. What do you tell younger Jon Bellion, who's never released music, in 2025? What's the advice you give that kid?
You're doing a great job. That's because that's all he needs to hear.
Yeah.
I know that's not.
No, I mean, how bad do you want to go back to that first session that we had at Steve Finfer's house and be like, guys, you don't understand what's about to happen to both your careers? Y'all are fine.
Yeah,
you guys are okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Just do what you're doing.
Yeah,
you'll be okay.
Most people just need to be told that they're doing a great job. I think the older I get, as someone who now has a publishing company and has writers under him and producers under him and blah blah blah, most of these arguments, most of these things, most of these ego trips, most of these crash outs, most of the I want the producer, myself included, it's just from a lack of, like, once in a while you'd be shocked of just being like, dude, you're doing a great job. I just want to remind you you're doing a great job. I think that's what we're all like, really just dying to be told.
We're gonna go to the last segment. I'm gonna just list 5 things, and I'm just sort of curious what you have to say about them. Let's start with your wife.
It's always disappointing when I come here, when it's over. I feel like this is like
we can keep going, man. You just have a life. So I guess so do I.
I feel out for this shit and for you, man.
I love it. So then stay.
Whatever you got, man.
But let's talk about. But yeah, let's go with that. I just want to hear. These names have sort of changed since the last conversation. I mean, your wife was not; she was there. But
yeah.
Let's start with your wife.
Yeah.
What comes off the top of your head?
Consistent. Anchor. Consistent. She's just wildly consistent. She's not swayed in different directions. She's steadfast. She tethers, and this is just like a tether to reality that I would never have without. I'd be. I don't even know the guy I'd be. Yeah.
Your oldest son.
He's a sweet boy.
Your second son.
He marches to the beat of his own drum. He's yeah.
It's so crazy that you can
guy.
tell really quick that these people are just different.
Quick. 1 year apart.
Yeah.
And I'm like 2 different people that you'd think they were raised in 2 different houses. It's crazy.
Baby boy.
Pleasant. The first 2 guys were military torture. Crying and crying and crying all night. This new guy, this third guy, he's like just happy to be here.
Are
He
you
sleeps
done?
at night. He's oh, it's so amazing. I'd have 6 kids. I'd have 10 kids if they could all be
I was just
what my
about to
third guy
ask.
is.
Are you gonna tap out after 3, or are you gonna go for 6 or 10?
We're 100% tapping out at 4. I don't care what.
Yeah.
There's not.
Before 4 could happen.
Yeah. 4 is a possibility.
Yeah.
3's fun. I'm just speaking frankly as a dad. Again, don't come after me. The baby stage is just not for me. My sons are all
so
blast.
hard.
Once they cross that 2-year mark, my sons are all blast now. Going to the trampoline park and shit, just like doing dumb shit with like my friends almost. Like my sons are just like these guys that I just like love being around because they're just like great kids in general outside of me. Like they're just like great, sweet little boys. So I'm just like, oh, this is amazing. I get to like be with you and you discover this whole thing. When my sons were first born, I was like, man, this is my lot in life. Like it's just this like thankless, screaming, shit wiping, non-sleep experience of craziness.
It's so intense.
Because I didn't realize how much I valued my train of thought.
Yeah.
When I didn't have kids, my train of thought, I could go out into this world of thinking about all this extravagant goal chasing. And when you have a kid, like the thing's screaming directly in front of you.
Yeah.
So it's like, but for sure. It for all the fathers out there, it gets fun.
Okay, wait. I've got a few more things. Like, part of this podcast and the point of it, we talked about in the last one, was that I want, it used to be like I want the industry to be able to look back and see how these songwriters are living currently, and they're talking about their life currently. But in the spirit of this conversation, I want it so that your sons can look back and be like, wow, that's my dad.
Oh, wow.
What are 3 decisions that changed your life?
3 decisions that changed my life. Admitting that I'm not strong enough to do life on my own. Having the courage to apologize when I'm completely wrong. That one was a good one for me. Has unlocked a lot of chill in me. Trusting in the things that God said is good for me, even when they don't feel good, exciting, or anything in the moment. I think those are probably the larger. I look back and I'm like, wow, thank God I kept fighting for X, a marriage, or fighting for presence with my children, even though I'm just got off a flight and I've sacrificed 5 days worth of sessions to make sure I'm coming home to see my kids. And the second I get home, a 2-year-old says, well, I want mommy to put me to bed. And your ego says, I sacrificed all of this for you. And it's like, blessed is the quiver. Blessed is the man with many children. Like blessed is the man who, like, you know what I mean? Like being present with your kids and having kids that understand that you are present, whether they're in a good mood or a bad mood. Your job is to like be their anchor. And they can feel how they feel. They're not too big or too small for the room. Like all those things that when you do those consistently, it really pays dividends down the road. Because no matter what happens in business or what happens in whatever, you have like certain anchors that are there where you look back and say, wow, thank God I was steadfast when it was hard. And thank God. Thank God. God, thank you. Like it's, oh, wow. Whoa. Like that's real. Like, oh, wow. You can't see the forest through the trees sometimes. And honestly, that applies to songwriting because this is the podcast that we're on. It's like, you can't see the forest through the trees sometimes. You have to keep going.
One thing that I think is important to acknowledge before we're done that is so amazing is how you've been very verbal about giving points to songwriters that you're working with. And
yeah, we gave songwriters points on this album coming out.
Why?
Because it's crazy. You definitely learn more about the business end when you have to stay true to the point that you're giving as the label that's funding everything, or the guy who's paying for all of it himself and giving away it to free 48 hours in advance to the fans, just sacrificing the numbers and stuff to deliver to the fans. You recognize that you have, as a business, you have to stand behind the points and they have to get paid out before I get paid my money back that I shelled out to do the whole album, blah, 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 which then gives me a little more grace on the label side. But it's just like, all right, we just can't have like the shiniest car in the video in order to make sure that the writers get points. that's the point I'm realizing. It's like the CEO just might need a fucking smaller house. Like we all just might need to just chill. Instead of 62 floors in the Sony building in the city, it might need to be 30 and motherfuckers can get paid. Like that's another thing I'm realizing. It's not, the labels don't have to die. I think they just have to be like the federal government talking to Live Nation. They just need to be, everyone just needs to be put into some sort of check. So as far as the writers getting points and stuff, it's like, yeah, if I don't make any money on the album, at least I can hang my head high and say that like the writer that has never gotten a point, maybe ever in their career, a new guy, like an Elijah Knoll or someone that like worked on the album with me, the fact that he got a point on the album will maybe inform him to be like, John gave me one, why can't you? Ron Perry, John Janik, Wendy Goldstone. Like, why can't you? It's like, well, we only have 20 on our side and the artist is this. Like, John did it and he lost money. It's like, well, we have to at least start there, because once you start losing money, you'll think of new ways to still make your money while doing the industry standard. So yeah, I kind of forced the situation. And right now I'd rather lose the money to figure out how I can make the money while still taking care of the writers. So I could figure out a thing to maybe have a conversation with Ron or John or one of those guys to be like, well, when I was doing it, I found that this, and this was able to pay my bottom end on paying for the videos to deliver for the fans. I was able to still pay for the writer, but you kind of have to trip and fall into it until it happens. So right now I'm giving points to writers on the album.
For those who didn't listen to the first interview we did and who don't know our history, one of the classiest moments that I've ever experienced in the music business, I talked about on that, which was that I came in, 80s films was something you had just worked on with Busby. Avi Shalom, missed that guy.
Oh man, Buzz is a good dude.
Dude, he was alive when we did our last interview. Like that's how much, like 6 years.
Buzz was a prolific songwriter.
You guys had worked on a song and I said, I think you should go over here and maybe this section should go here, do something like that. And then the next time I hear is from Capitol being like, John insists that you get like additional production and a fee.
Yeah.
Yo, man, I give advice to a lot of people and I don't expect anything. That's what makes it classy.
Oh, man.
That's what makes you classy. Those writers don't have to, like, one of the comments I've gotten from one of the comments that, like, I guess I feel like a lot of people just assume from the label side that if we start giving points to writers, it won't be enough points. Or this, like, if we do all this other stuff that's like, so it's better to not do anything than to do a little bit.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing is just so important.
Totally.
And it's just you. It just makes me happy. So you're doing a good, like, you know, people need to hear it. You're doing a good job.
Oh, thank you.
All right, a few more things, and then I'm gonna let you go.
Sure.
Like our listeners love hearing stories about big songs. They just do. Because who doesn't?
I love that.
So I'm gonna just list a few of these big songs, and I just want to hear something memorable about them.
Yeah.
Ghost.
Oh man, that was like the most therapeutic admission, like from my younger self, that I miss my grandmother a lot.
Wow.
Yeah, that was like full blown therapy session. Listening back to it, that was like that was one of the more. Some people be like, oh, music's like it heals me, and it definitely does. But that was like one of the most healing like records I've ever written, just out loud, being like, "Grandma, I miss you."
Holy.
Oh man, good. A friend of mine. I won't say the producer because it's jokes and I don't care. But I heard through the grapevine that a big producer had heard the song from somebody, and before it got cut, before Justin took it and Chance jumped on it and all that goodness, that they were just like, like running to the altar like a track star, like stupid, never gonna work, like that's not even a hit, and and it was. So that I just know, like, no matter how many hits somebody has or whatever, if my gut says that like this could be a big song or I see a vision for it, that was a good reminder of like, even your friends, even your heroes, even your people could be like, this sucks. And it's like, well, if you don't think it sucks, then they're not wrong. They're not right. It's just, so it's just like, if you believe something is like, no, this is a smash, bro. Like in my head, sometimes I'm like, I'll be like, oh, wow, you don't like it? Or you think this is going to hit? But in the back of my mind, I'm like, it's not how I felt when I was making it. That goosebump thing, I can't be like, all right, goosebumps, I'm inspired. So when that does happen, you have some sort of a bloop, something's here. And you got to kind of go into the great beyond and fight and fist fight metaphorically for that thing you felt. Because only you and the writer, when you're writing it, there'll be moments where the thing hits and the pre goes into the hook and the hook hits the thing and you're all listening back and you're like, but then you go out into the world and all these other forces come into play where all these labels are like, is anybody signed to us? Is anybody in that crew? Da-da-da-da. And then you get the email back from the guy who tells you this is not good enough. But the real subtitle is, none of you are signed to us. This isn't profitable for us. And we're not going to be able to bank off what you made. Because they don't give a fuck about the song. They give a fuck about making more money for their shit. So just if you get the goosebumps when you're making it, go out into the world and that's your sword. Fuck you, I got the goosebumps. Fuck you, this is a hit. I got the goosebumps. Fuck you, this is a hit. And the longer you can hold on to that feeling that you had and football it across the finish line, if you run that race, you'll get to the finish line before a huge artist and you go, I made this thing 6 months ago. And you finally pass it off before you fucking die at the finish line and the artist takes it and it's like the ring got thrown in the fire in the volcano. Like you made it. You did the thing,
When someone has an opinion, there's an opposite side. That's what you learn in debate class, is like you should learn the opposite side of the debate.
I only talk to people in the studio that vehemently hate my opinion about something.
Yeah,
I'm
perfect.
like, ooh, let's
go.
Because I could be wrong about something and I want to learn and for sure.
I played a song that is 12 years old in a meeting the other day. They don't know that.
No.
But it's so good. And we've had other people cut it. The song is a hit.
Yeah.
I know it's a hit.
Yeah.
It hasn't come out yet. And it's not a hit yet. But like there are very few songs that I feel that way about.
Yes.
But I know this song is special.
Straight
Full
up.
stop.
I've had songs that got cut 7 years after I wrote the song.
Yeah. Right.
And then once I had my first hit, motherfuckers were coming out the woodworks talking about that song you wrote 3 years ago is a great one.
Yeah,
I can't believe that one brushed by my desk. It's like, okay. You know what you know, and no one can tell you any different. Because I'll tell you this, songwriters and producers, myself included, nobody knows shit. Nobody knows dick about dick. Everyone at the Grammys is like, I knew when we first signed.
Yeah.
You don't know dick. You don't know dick. Nobody does. Not a clue.
Success has a million fathers. Failure has none.
Nobody wants to be near it when it doesn't work. And then when it does, it's so like, we should try to do the thing that they're doing. It's like, there's nothing to do. You do it your way. Whatever your balance is, whatever your homeostasis in this whole thing is. Because now success doesn't define... It's not just being a superstar on the radio at the Grammys, like Whitney Houston shit. Like, that's just not success.
Yeah,
Success now is like almost not being depressed and being an artist and like making a living. Like
Charlie XCX's album, man, that there's no like international smash on it as far as one song.
No.
But the album is a smash.
And she's just operating. You can
but you're
tell
still the
she's
guy,
operating.
You're still like,
Out of her
okay,
gut.
that's Jon Bellion, the artist. Is like this album, I believe where you're at. I'll just put it out in the universe. It's going to be, it'll have the same kind of love that like Brat had. I think you're going to release this. I think people are going to be like, I've always liked his shit. I always knew he would do this. It doesn't like people they'll just know. They'll just know. But like when you're writing for other people, you're shooting missiles.
Yes.
So I'm going to just go through a couple more.
Yes, please.
Graveyard.
Graveyard was another one where another producer was, and the producer's my boy, so it's okay that he'd be laughing if he heard this. He
knows.
He's a player. He knows. He called. We sent it to him. I sent it to him. I'm like, yo, you think this would work for like? I'm not even gonna say the other artist name because then they'll know who the producer is. I was like, you think this would work for artist XX? And he was like, nah, it just sound like, he said it sound like Spooky 107.
That's so good.
Which made me crack up. I was like, yo, you think this would be good for X artists? He's like, bro, this shit sound like Spooky 107. What are you talking about, Graveyard? I'll follow you to the Graveyard. He's like, no, I'm not going to give this to any of my artists. I thought it was hysterical. I'm like, this is still a smash. It ended up being a top 10 record.
There you go.
Dog.
What about...
But that's another example of like... nobody knows. And I could have thought it was a smash and it could have came out and completely flopped. And that's happened to me a bunch of times. Like the Dua Lipa Miley record, Prisoner, that was a whole other production, whole other thing. And another artist cut it, and that was Mendez cut it. The leaks, I think it's on YouTube. Someone like leaked his version of it, so it's not like news. But there's a whole different production under the one that even leaked. It was a whole other thing, and blah blah blah. And I thought that record, I was like riding a high because I had so many number ones off the Bieber stuff and the Maroon stuff, and I was like, in America, this one's gonna go off. Dua Lipa's prolific, enormous. Miley Cyrus is prolific, enormous. And it came in America, and I guess Miley was like coming out of her deal and going into the Ron deal, and it was like iffy, and the thing just fell flat in America. It was like number one in every other country, but completely wrong. And then Memories, I told my wife, this thing's never going to see the light of day, and the thing takes off. It's like you have no control over the way culture receives these things. So at least that's like a nice thing to think about. Like, you can breathe because you don't know what's going to happen anyway. You can try your best. It's the only thing. That's the only thing you got. You don't really have anything else. And your gut.
By the way, the Prisoner example of, here's a whole other production and a different artist and this thing. That's why the song is the song,
Yes.
and the writers of the song are the songwriters, and the
Absolutely.
people who do the production, which might have been the same producers, but those are the producers.
Totally.
It may also be the songwriters.
Yeah.
But the songwriters are the songwriters,
Yeah.
and the producers are the producers.
Yes.
And that's it. And everybody else, get off our publishing. You want our publishing.
Let them know.
You want our publishing.
Yes.
We are coming for everything of yours. If you're a label and you say we want an interpolation of this, every percent that I give you of my song,
Yes.
I'm taking from your masters.
I could get up and
If you're going to,
right now.
if you're going to
Raw
come
song,
in and say,
Capitol Hill.
I want 2% because I did drums.
Yeah.
I want all of your drum samples. I'm going to use them and give you nothing. Or
I know.
stop stepping on our publishing. You
I
are
know.
not a songwriter. You want to be a songwriter? Spend the 15 years of waking up every day, as my friend Jon Bellion said about an hour ago, and struggle and learn what a melody is and a concept is, and learn what a song is, and you can get publishing too someday.
Yep.
But you are not getting my publishing on a song when you are not a songwriter.
Wow.
It is just not right.
Yep.
And we have to, and if you're an artist and you're
you
going to
give it-
make songwriters sign an NDA, guess what that probably means to the world?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to be litigious, guess what the world should talk about?
Totally.
Here's the thing that I'm going to say that I said at the Sona event, which is that if you're when the news discusses the selling of a catalog from an artist who does not write songs, and we all know it,
Yep.
the headline needs to be $200 million of extorted publishing sold for X amount of dollars.
Wow.
Or $200 million of extorted publishing just sold to this company, and the artist and manager will profit off of working songwriters. Because we don't talk about it because we're afraid to discuss artists who take publishing for nothing in return. If you give me points, so I can now sell my points, because that's also transferable. So I can go to a fund, an IP fund, and say, I'm going to sell the 3 points I got on this that will equal the 5% of publishing that you got from the pie.
Dude, you're
because of my altruism.
going off right now. No. Keep going.
It drives me nuts because we can call it what it is. We have an opportunity in this generation to define it.
Yep.
And just like you as an artist can say, I'm going to give points to songwriters and it's going to come out of my pocket. Also, if you are going to come after my publishing, I'm now going to go and ask for more points, or I'm going to ask for some of your touring or your merch.
And touring.
And I'm going to have that ability to sell my share of that to the same IP fund that you're selling my publishing to.
Yeah. Could you imagine in ownership, you make a song and then metaphorically, someone who owns the whole music industry comes back and metaphorically says to you, yes, you made that song, but we get paid off of that part of the song that you made. The master.
Yeah.
We get paid off of that.
Yeah.
You don't get the, but you didn't make it. It's like, yeah, but we helped blow it up. Yeah, but I made the product.
I think that the the Taylor Swift versions of albums.
What do you mean?
You know how she went and redid all, she's redoing all these to show the value
of the
master and what record companies make. And it's been a fascinating education for the muggles. I don't know what you call yeah. But like it really is. You know, it's like here's a wizard who's like, this is what I'm gonna do right now. Watch this magic trick.
Muggles is crazy. That's crazy.
She did the wizard thing.
I almost just like don't even like I just keep going. You're saying it in a way because I feel like you've been so proactive. A lot of the people will be having the conversations and then they'll be like, yeah, but like then what do you do? And you're like the guy that's like, don't have that fucking conversation with me. I will go to Capitol Hill. I will have that conversation.
Yeah.
I will dedicate my time to that.
You can. Yeah. This is all right. Every songwriter who talks about how we should unionize should go on right now and go to Sona and go to NSAI, spend $25. That's it. You've now joined the trade organizations that solely represent songwriters. Go to NMPA and follow them on social media because those people represent publishers who only make money from songwriters. Yep. Those two things, those three entities are so valuable, and we are constantly talking about, well, why don't we unionize? Because there are opportunities for you to join right now.
Right now.
For nothing. And you don't even do that?
Yep.
Do it right now and build those numbers and actually show up to some meetings.
Yep.
And give your opinions and your experience. You want to get paid. Like, I think we should be getting advances on mechanicals, just like producers 100%. Get advances on their fees and so on and so forth. And then you can have a point system for songwriters that recoups that fee. So labels can justify giving that advance of mechanicals. And even that could justify some of it. If you're, some of these things can be discussed and figured out if more people got involved. But rather than just posting, we should unionize, or asking me, why don't we unionize? It's because you can't even join some of these organizations that are there.
Absolutely.
Join these organizations.
Yep.
Have an opinion. People are there to listen. I'm not talking about PROs. I'm not talking about BMI and ASCAP. I'm not talking about, I'm not talking about anything else. You as a songwriter need to join organizations with other songwriters.
Yep.
So it's not just the loud old people that are like, I used to make money, but I don't now, so the industry sucks. And it's not just the people who are like, I don't write relevant songs, so I'm mad I'm not getting paid. Like, both those things are not those are all part of the industry, but they're not the whole industry.
Clip that.
Like, we need
No, that disparity. Disparity is the thing, because there's the people who don't have the hits that are trying to get the hits that don't make profitable songs,
right?
But they're living through a publisher as being signed to dedicate their life to something.
Yep.
And then there's the opposite ends of the spectrum.
And they're the guys who experience all the mechanicals from all the CD sales back in the day, who don't understand why songwriters don't get paid enough anymore. And it's like, okay, all those opinions matter, but you know who really matters are the guys who show up to studios every single day. And there are thousands of them who can't pay for their rent.
Yep.
Every one of those people should be joining these organizations. The $25 you were going to pay for that one drink out in Hollywood or whatever your vices, spend it to join one of these organizations. And then you can also go to Capitol Hill.
Yeah.
Grammys on the Hill. If you're an artist, join Grammys, the organization, not like... That's RAAA and NMPA are constantly on, there's this no fakes act that's going on right now for making sure people don't pillage your AI. Like, I mean, we could go into that. That's a whole other conversation, but I don't want to right now.
There's times that I know just to listen, you are the person that should be having that conversation. Your passion and the way that you've fought over the years, while a lot of us, myself included, have taken the time to just keep going and to be like, I'm really glad Ross is doing that.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to, like, this is important right now for you, specifically you as the person who dedicated the brand and the podcast and the helping and the niceness that you've showed me over the years and the gems that you've given me and the consistency that you've shown to me. A lot of us, and I can name myself, have reaped the benefits of you taking the sacrifice out of your day to go onto Capitol Hill and to go do those things while we were just getting taken care of stuff that you're doing. And just know that that doesn't fall short on like my brain. I don't ever think like the amount of time that I know that other songwriters, I'm like, where's Ross been? Bro, he been fighting. He been going crazy over on Capitol Hill trying to get writers and trying to get this and trying to get that. Like, you talk about that shit, anyone wants to change anything, obviously, take it from whatever my cultural token goes into, whatever, take it from you. Because we've all benefited from it. And we've all benefit from it greatly. And the benefit that you've given us will only multiply 20-fold after we're all gone. So on behalf of myself, I can't speak for anybody but myself, but that's one of the more admirable professional things I have ever seen since I made my first beat in my basement. People ask me what's the most amazing thing that you've like seen as far as like what's an incredible thing. I think about it all the time.
I love that.
And why I want to keep coming back to this podcast forever. And if you need something, you let me, like, that flower, not from the people who haven't had a hit yet, who listen in their college dorm room right now. I'm not speaking for them. I'm speaking for all of us that came up with you. I thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing, man. Like advocacy, the other side of advocacy.
Apathy.
Like you win for. You celebrate, the wins are celebrated by the community.
Mm.
And when you are a songwriter, the wins are celebrated by you get celebrated.
Yep.
And I mean, I say a lot.
I think there's
like,
a piece in us that's so scarce. I'm pontificating right now. There is no like definitive thing that I've never thought about this. I'm speaking on the edge with you as we speak. I think there's just like a scarcity fear. There's scarcity fear in all of us. That somehow you've broken through that. I don't know how you are able to do that. Like in my mind, I'm like, I gotta keep going. I gotta like, it might not change in my lifetime, so I gotta but I'm realizing as we're talking that's the mentality that will keep us in the same exact position until you say, I'm gonna fund the shit myself. I'm gonna I'm gonna go talk about Live Nation. I'm gonna go do the thing. I'm gonna do. It's like whatever comes from those clips and whatever comes from that. The
pluses and minuses that come from it, like
exactly.
Look, man,
I think we're all just like very in our own minds too. Like we talk about it. I've been in like 100 sessions where your name gets brought up, and everyone's like, man, he's just like taking time off of his like paying his bills to go like fight some shit.
It's
Which
really
makes me
hard,
think, like,
man.
as we're talking right now, like fuck publicly. I'm not just saying it's just like that and a dollar gets you to ride the bus. It doesn't fucking matter. But like if you, we gotta help. It's
a lot of it is putting it away. Like what needs to happen are the writers that are in your position that are willing to say, I'm going to sacrifice a little bit of the success and a little bit. Look, I still have songs coming out. I still do sessions. I still love writing songs because I'm still a chair maker.
Absolutely.
So like I don't want to change that. And I still like, by having the advocacy thing, I ended up on the NMPA board, which then allows me to build my publishing company because I understand how that world works. Like I'm not going to say that I didn't learn anything from the advocacy that's applicable to my career in a financial sense, but I do understand that the amount of time it takes.
Exactly. And
when you only have so much time away from your kids, if you're going to be a present dad, is going to go towards the community. Mm-hmm. And if the community succeeds, I succeed. I mean, we're in the studio house. Like, how many of those do you need to be am I a happier songwriter if I have what? What would the next step be? Do you know what I mean? What else do I need?
Wow.
What else do I need? And I'm not saying I'm not going to, I still have a session today.
Yep.
I still will be writing a song today.
Yep.
I love it.
Yep.
But I'm willing to put some of I'm not going to do 2-a-days. I'm not going to do, because I'd rather be a present dad who prioritizes advocacy along with being a songwriter. I don't know. Maybe there are people who don't want to work with me because I'm an advocate, and maybe there's a grip of people who want to work with me more because of it.
Absolutely.
And I think I'm all right with those odds. And I'm okay that, like, yeah, I just went on a whole thing about not giving publishing to a bunch of people who probably are like, well, we're not going to work with that guy. And it's like, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
I'll be all right.
Yeah. There's such a duality in all of it. There's such duality. Like,
you have to trust that, like, you'll be like,
yeah,
I got enough shit going on. I don't, if I don't have to fight you for the,
I realize yeah, dude, you're in such a like a much wiser space in it all to be an advocate for us. Like you're in such a, it's like, even looking back at like the Live Nation stuff, I realized that like, you don't have to fucking blow the building up. You just got to create the stir to go out, to sound like a crazy person, to do the thing, to at least try to have the conversation.
Yeah.
And then maybe it could start there and whatever. Because again, you can be a radical and you can take that approach. I think there's viable times. There's a time to reap, a time to sow, a time to live, a time to die. There's times for it all. But the way that you've handled it has been like, I'm taking a lot of nuggets from it, where you can be within it. You don't have to be of it.
Yeah,
you can be in it, but you don't have to be of it.
Yeah.
So that balance is
it's it's a real balance. I'm not gonna lie. Like it's a real balance, and there are advocates who put in more time than I do at it, and Michelle Lewis at Sona and Bart Herbison at NSAI, obviously, NMPA are all publishers, and David Israelite, all these people, like their whole job is to fight for songwriters. I mean. That said, Michelle has written a bunch of music for TV and other people that, like, it's not like she's not writing, but these people, they do it even a level beyond. And I'm not, none of those, like Evan Bogart and had a lot to do with getting a lot of the things that I've gotten some credit for the Grammys. And it's like, I'm happy that I have a loud voice, but I'm not doing any of that shit alone. It's the same thing as like any of the album shit. It's like,
bro, Ten Rock, kid is unbelievable. Kid plays every single instrument. Kid is he's young. He's light years beyond me where I was at his age. The kid is unreal. Pete Nappy, unreal sonic development palette guy. Like, I just want to make sure that like I'm just keeping it in my mind. I'm always so forward focused that I don't necessarily give the credit to the left and the right. I'm always trying to like move forward. But Pete Nappy and Ten Rock, really, they're like the bulk of most of it. Like I had a season with OG Volta for the Human Condition, Glory Sound Prep, and then the season with Monsters and Strangers and Pollock and Amy, that whole thing. And now, like right now, I'm in a season with the Jimmins and the Jungkooks and I can't say the song that's coming out, but it's a crazy one with a great artist, and the Leroy stuff or stuff that we've worked, like Pete and Ten and even Roger, like a lot of like that they're just amazing. I am a cog in a very, very, I'm surrounded by a lot of talented people. I want to make sure that that's like very, very well known. Yeah. Michael Pollock, people that like without them, I just would not be anywhere close to where I am as a songwriter, producer, human, whatever. The Watt, J Cash, like a lot of guys that have given me opportunities that when I came back to this thing, they were open doors for me. Yeah. They respected my talents. They let me in. They whatever. So I just want to make sure as a songwriter on the podcast, I can mention like there's been crews that change over the years and life changes and people's accessibility when I live in New York changes when they get married and this, that, and the third. But like all of those people are all responsible for me. And I'm appreciative of that for sure.
Okay. Second to last question is, what's your favorite song on the album? Is that a fair question? What is
Pharrell's
your
my hero
song?
So the intro record is Horoscope featuring Pharrell. So it's like, and that comes out Friday, the day we're speaking right now. What is that, tomorrow? Next day? Tomorrow? He's just my hero. So to have him as like a vocal actual feature on it, not just producing, for him to like stand next to me on this one, that means the most to me. But I think the best song on the album is a record called Father Figure. Shit is like...
They're building a like.
You spend all the money for the house in the hills, and they're fucking buzzsawing all day long. We got an Airbnb. I don't even know why we went up in the fucking hills and paid all that money for the Airbnb. It's ridiculous. We're all living a lie.
The
You
hills,
pay for the piece up in the mountains, and there's just dudes fucking whistling while they work, going bananas.
These
It's unreal.
studios are
It's unreal.
these studios are so soundproof, but this room is not.
Dude, every podcast I've ever, any interview I do in the hills, anything, it's like, hold on one second. A Pomeranian. I'm like, who the fuck wants to live here, bro? Unreal.
Okay, I've got a session that just got here. So I'm going to say all I want for Christmas is to make some more chairs.
Yes, sir.
I just want to make chairs. I want to make chairs with other people who make chairs that are different than the chairs I make.
Yep.
And be like, I like your chairs. Your chairs are cool. I love that reference so much.
Yeah.
Because you have a publishing company now. You have a record company now. You write songs for a lot of people. I can relate to a lot of those things. But what I can relate to most right now is I'm a dad. I'm a dad. I still love making chairs.
Yep.
I want to show my kids that like I like making chairs and you can make chairs too. And if you make enough chairs, you can do the other things, but don't forget to make the chairs.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I love that metaphor. Thank you for making chairs.
Thank you. And thank you for fighting for the chair makers. For real.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. It was produced by me and Joe London in association with Mega House Music Group. If you like this episode, go give us a rating at wherever you listen to your podcast, and make sure to follow us at And the Writer Is on all your socials. We'll see you next week.